Two urban legends about the sinister force emerge from the shadows. The Crooked Man. The story below revolves around a creepy legend about the Crooked Man, a dark force threatening naughty children. There is a lonely crooked man, under the dim, unclear moonlight. He walks for miles on crooked paths, into the dark corners of small alleys. He seeks out naughty children. In front of them, he smiles a strange smile, with a deep red flower in hand. The Crooked Man extends a friendship. If you hear the crooked bell, the Crooked Man suddenly appears before you. His hat slowly falls off, a face of utmost horror and fear. The crooked light gradually fades out. The Crooked Man will disappear, along with your soul, in a small, charming town, with old houses and small dirt roads. Dim yellow lights shine from the wooden houses, creating a warm and friendly atmosphere. However, in this place, there is a bizarre legend passed down from generation to generation about an evil force called the Crooked Man. The story goes that in the darkness of a quiet late night, when the moonlight fades, a strange figure emerges from the darkness. The Crooked Man, the image of an obsession, tall and gangly, always wears a flat hat. His face is hidden in the shadows, revealing only a mouth that seems never to stop grinning. His eyes and nose are concealed under the flat hat, creating a creepy and mysterious appearance. His body is gaunt, like a dry branch bending under the moonlight. He always holds a cane in his hand, a symbol of power and fear. The Crooked Man will come and take the naughty children into the darkness, and those children will never return. So if a child does not listen to their parents or does not follow the rules, they will be sought out by the Crooked Man. No one knows exactly who the Crooked Man is, but everyone believes he is a dark, evil force, waiting to drag disobedient children into the darkness and imprison them there forever. Little Saw and Little Duck are siblings living in this town. Saw, 10 years old, is a sensible and intelligent older sister. Duck, 8 years old, is a mischievous boy, curious and easily drawn to mysterious stories. Every night, before going to bed, their mother usually tells them the story of the Crooked Man as a reminder to obey their parents. But Duck does not believe in the existence of the Crooked Man. He thinks people are just making the story scarier to curb children's mischievous behavior. Saw, though she also feels scared, always tries to protect her younger brother as an older sister should. Duck often shows extreme mischief and troublemaking. He even lies to sneak out to play, breaks neighbors' windows, and litters everywhere. This makes everyone, especially the neighbors, feel frustrated and confused. As Duck's pranks become more and more outrageous, Saw feels increasingly scared. She believes the legend of the Crooked Man is true, and each of Duck's actions is an invitation for him to come and take Duck away. One night, after their mother went to the hospital for a night shift, Saw and Duck went to sleep. While in a daze, Duck heard whispers from the hallway. He crawled out of bed and followed the whispers, while Saw was still fast asleep. Duck continued to follow the sounds to the living room door. Outside the door, Duck saw a tall, crooked shadow standing in the darkness along the backyard fence. Fear overwhelmed his mind, but curiosity ultimately won. He opened the door and stepped outside. As he walked through the dense forest, Duck heard the rustling and the wind blowing through the branches. The large trees, like eerie ghosts, shimmered under the moonlight covering the night. In the silent space, only the rustling leaves and Duck's footsteps filled the forest with an eerie atmosphere. After a while, he had ventured deep into the dark forest, where the moonlight couldn't reach. Suddenly, Duck stopped. A strange figure appeared before him. A tall, crooked man, dressed in a black cloak and wearing a flat hat. The man's dark eyes under the hat stared straight at Duck, making him feel a chill down his spine. Who are you? Duck asked, his voice trembling. The man did not answer, just grinned widely, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth. He used his gaunt, tree branch-like arm to hold the cane and approached the boy, reciting a nursery rhyme in a terrifying tone.
There is a lonely crooked man, under the dim, unclear moonlight. He walks for miles on crooked paths, into the dark corners of small alleys. He seeks out naughty children. In front of them, he smiles a strange smile, with a deep red flower in hand. The Crooked Man extends a friendship.
Duck felt immense panic and fear facing the Crooked Man. The feeling permeated every cell in his body. His small eyes widened in terror, staring at the man. He could feel the cold and dreadful power from the Crooked Man's appearance. His body trembled, his heart pounded, and he stood frozen, not knowing what to do. Meanwhile, Saw had woken up and didn't see Duck anywhere. She called his name, but he didn't answer. Frightened and worried, she decided to get out of bed and search for her brother. At that moment, Duck was in great danger. The Crooked Man stepped out of the darkness, swaying his cane as he approached the boy. The cold moonlight illuminated his face, revealing a sinister expression. Before Duck could react, the man lifted his arm, intending to drag the boy into the deep darkness. Saw followed her brother's trail, leaving the house and entering the forest. The moonlight helped her see the Crooked Man about to pull Duck into the darkness. Without hesitation, She rushed over and shone her flashlight on him. The men recoiled in horror when the flashlight shone on him, giving Duck the chance to quickly run towards Saw. The siblings ran as fast as they could out of the forest and return home, where their mother stood at the door, anxiously waiting for them. Having experienced the fear, Duck felt immense relief and comfort upon seeing his mother. His heart raced with hope, but his body still trembled from the recent horror. He let go of his sister's hand and ran quickly towards his mother, wanting to feel her warmth and safety. At that moment, Saw suddenly heard the sound of a bell ringing next to their mother. She remembered the nursery rhyme and screamed, trying to pull her brother back, but it was too late. Duck had already hugged their mother in front of him. However, the mother began to transform strangely. She twisted her body under Duck's astonished gaze. Her arms and legs grew long and thin, her face hidden in the shadows, her mouth gradually widening. When the transformation was complete, the terrifying image of the crooked man appeared before Duck. Duck struggled desperately, but the man's arm was incredibly strong. He held Duck tightly and pulled him into the darkness in an instant. Saw wanted to save her brother but couldn't. She stood frozen, watching the crooked man and Duck disappear into the deep night, in helpless despair, like the ending of the nursery rhyme.
If you hear the crooked bell, the crooked man suddenly appears before you. His hat slowly falls off, a face of utmost horror and fear. The crooked light gradually fades out. The crooked man will disappear, along with your soul.
Scarecrow Cemetery. In a village deep within a remote town, there lay an ancient cemetery peacefully nestled among vast fields. The setting sun cast a golden glow on the abandoned graves, where bodies no longer inhabited by souls rested. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the cemetery grew cold and dark. Wild grass covered the ground, and the buzzing of cicadas filled the air, creating a picture of eerie stillness and tranquility. One night, a group of teenagers decided to explore the ancient cemetery. The group consisted of 4 boys and 2 girls, driven by curiosity and a sense of adventure. They decided to play a horror game they called Making a Scarecrow. They would gather grass and mud from the abandoned graves, along with straw and some other tools they had prepared for their bizarre plan. Nam, are you sure we should do this? Lynn, one of the girls, asked nervously. Nam, the leader of the group, just chuckled and nodded. We won't know until we try, right? He looked out from the window of the abandoned house in the cemetery, where the expensive moonlight streamed through the wooden slats, casting flickering spots of light across the graveyard. With determination, the group began their work. Using dry grass, mud, and straw, they started to shape the scarecrow. A mix of excitement and tension filled the air. We're going to make a huge scarecrow and place it here to guard the cemetery, Chen, the lively boy in the group, said with a booming laugh. As the scarecrow took shape, an unsettling feeling settled over the group. The long grass and dry straw created a terrifying figure. They gazed at the scarecrow in horror, with its ink-black eyes, sharp nose, and eerie smile. The more they worked, the more they felt drawn into a dark and sinister force. Fantastic, Anne, one of the girls exclaimed, though her voice carried an inexplicable fear. They placed the scarecrow near the abandoned house, right in the center of the cemetery. Filled with satisfaction, the group left. Initially, creating the scarecrow was just a curious game. They wanted to explore the power of their imagination and see if they could create something strange from the materials they deemed creepy around them. However, over time, things began to change and spiral out of control. Some members of the group harbored feelings of resentment and anger towards life. They felt neglected and unfairly treated by their loved ones. Others wanted to assert their power by imposing on others. All of them sought a way to vent these negative emotions, and tormenting the scarecrow became one of those outlets. The group took turns beating and tormenting the scarecrow mercilessly, their wild laughter echoing through the cemetery day after day. But soon, the teenagers grew bored of this cruel pastime. From that moment, something strange happened. Under the relentless agony, from the strands of grass and bundles of straw, a dark spirit was born. The scarecrow, although just a bundle of grass and straw, absorbed the pain and suffering, forming a consciousness and life. The horror began as hatred and agony surged, transforming the scarecrow into a dark and terrifying entity, filled with destructive power. On the first few nights after gaining consciousness, the scarecrow utilized the darkness, blending into the night. It ventured into the village, seeking those who had tormented it. Its figure, resembling a tall, menacing specter, struck terror into anyone who happened to see it. After nights of searching on a moonless night, the scarecrow found the group of teenagers having fun in the abandoned house. In the thick darkness, it appeared suddenly and attacked its tormentors mercilessly. At first, the teenagers laughed, thinking someone was playing a prank on them. However, When the Scarecrow's arm transformed into a sharp spear and pierced through one of the group's chest, the remaining teens began to panic. Screams and cries echoed everywhere, making the atmosphere even more sinister and terrifying. The 5 remaining teens fled from the abandoned house. They ran frantically forward, not daring to look back. However, none could escape its monstrous grasp. The young individuals became victims of the very horror game they had created. One day, on his way back from work, a farmer passed by the cemetery and discovered that near the abandoned house, there were not just 1 but 7 scarecrows. One large, terrifying scarecrow stood tall. Beneath its shadow were 6 smaller scarecrows, with their mouths stuffed with grass and mud, their expressions frozen in sheer terror. The farmer felt a chill run down his spine. He suddenly remembered the 6 children who had gone missing, still unfound to this day.